Lillington Shawtown School with Miss Batkins. It's Alexis Batkins?
Alexis, yes.
Yeah, Alexis, what do you teach?
Kindergarten.
Yeah. And the reason that we wanted to come out and talk to you today is because I heard a rumor that you did very well on your edTpa submission and that you got a really good score. You only had to do it once, right?
Yeah, one time.
Okay. Yeah. So what area? It was for K6?
Yes, K6, I did math.
Okay. So I know you guys have a choice. You can either do math or
Yes.
reading?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what do you feel like you learned from the experience?
I would say I learned how to make intentional lessons and adapt them if something is going wrong or something's going really well and they don't need extra practice on that. I would say I learned how to advocate for myself too.
Okay.
Like if you need help, ask for it.
Okay.
You know, don't be scared to ask for it and ask your mentor or whoever you're in close contact with. What else about that?
Well, let me ask you this. What did you find the most difficult? What was the hardest thing about doing the edTpa portfolio?
I would say the hardest thing is making sure that you have everything planned out. You have to be organized to be effective in doing it. Because you have to have 3 to 5 consecutive lessons. And so if you wait until the end of the year to start that, then you only have so many standards left that you can teach, and they might not be 3 lessons long. You know, they might only need 1 day. So you have to plan everything out, and I think that took the longest to do, but that's what helped the most.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to somebody who's just now starting out? They don't know anything about the edTpa process. What advice would you give them that might help them, point them in the right direction?
I would say there's a handbook that they give you. Print it out.
Okay.
Print the whole entire thing. It's a lot, but it is so much better to look at a piece of paper than it is to try and scroll through it on the computer. Because then once you print it out, you can look through every step and literally check it off once you know you've got that done. Like, okay, I did this part, check it, don't look at it again, until you're done the whole thing. And I would say to find somebody who's done it before. Okay. That was the best thing for me. We had a teacher here last year who had just finished it, and she did really well. And I reached out to someone in HR, and they told me, oh, talk to so-and-so, And I sat down with her, I showed her the handbook, and I had already had things circled that I didn't really understand. And she was able to work through everything with me and didn't tell me how to do it. She just said, oh, well, that means this, because there's some language in there that's really hard to understand unless you get somebody to talk to about it. I think that was the #1 thing that helped me the most.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you attribute your high score to? Because Miss Blaylock was saying that you got a really high score. Why do you think you made such a high score?
I think just the planning aspect of it. I made sure that I had enough time left in the school year to plan out those 3, I only did 3 lessons. Plan out those 3 lessons and realize how long it was going to take, because it is something that you do need to make sure that you're taking time after school to do. I mean, you just have to. And so if you can plan it out, look at the papers that you printed out, go through, check off every time you've done it, and there's 15 rubrics for the thing.
Wow.
So you print those rubrics out, and you need to score a 4 or a 5. Ideally, you get a 5, right? So go on there and circle what it takes to get a 4 and a 5. And then make sure, okay, you can look at that and pinpoint in your submission where you would get that score, right? So then there's no way you're going to get anything else. And that's what I did.
You're working backwards.
Right, exactly. Start with the rubric and say, okay, this is exactly what they need, and this is where I have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Is this something that can be done over the summer?
Well, it can if you have recorded your videos in class, because you do have to submit a bunch of videos with it, like one-on-one with a student, whole group. So if you've already had that recorded, then you can submit it over the summertime. But that's what I said, if you wait till the end of the year and you don't do those videos, then you try to do it over the summer, you're gonna have to just wait until the following year, and that would just be really difficult, I think. So I think it's better to get the ball rolling. And again, if what you're trying to do over the summer doesn't line up with the videos that you took, well then that's
You'd
not
be
good.
in trouble,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
that's not good.
That says the same. You get the same fix with national boards. And when I did my national board certification, I also printed out the instructions and put it in a 3-ring binder.
Yeah.
I would go to the elliptical trainer with a highlighter and read. But it helped.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And it's there's a glossary in the handbook that defines every single term that might be a little bit confusing. That's a good thing to print out too, because
Okay.
like some of the things like academic language, you know, like you think you know what that means, but when you have to show it, you're like, well, how do I do that? You know, so that thing gives you examples of what you might say. So that's a great thing to have printed out too.
That's another really good tip.
Yeah.
Well, I hear nothing but good things about the work that you're doing here at Shawtown, so
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank
We're
you so much.
blessed to have you, and thank you for your time.
Yes, I'm glad you got to come in here and talk with me.
Yeah, me too. Thanks. Hi, I'm here right now at Harnett Central High School with Miss Leeanne Price. Thank you for being with us, Leeanne.
Thank you.
And Leeanne is a scorer. Is it for Pearson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she has some experience, much experience.
About 3 years now.
Okay. And of scoring the edTpa portfolios. And so, which areas do you score?
So I've rotated. I've actually scored. They tend to have us score by task.
Okay.
So you're either scoring task 1, task 2, or task 3. And you just keep doing that one section. But I've done all 3 of them now. So.
Okay. And so what can you tell our BTs that might be helpful to them about things that you may have noticed through your scoring experience, or just any information that you've gathered through your training that might be beneficial for them?
Absolutely. Really important when you're starting the edTpa process, that guidebook that you get at the beginning, there is a series of guided questions for each task that they're saying, you know, we want you to address these things. What we really want you to do is answer those questions. And I know that seems so simple, but where we see people get lost is they want to tell us the story of here's how I got into teaching, and here's what I love about my kids, and here's the connection I made with this student. No, what I need you to do is answer this question. And I need it to be really clear that you understand what the question is. So if we're asking you about what modifications did you provide for this student, start with the modifications I provided for this student are, and list them out. It sounds like really elementary advice, but honestly, that's where I see the most mistakes happening.
Is that like the national board prompts?
Very much like the national board prompts.
Okay. So so what I'm hearing from you is that you're not looking for a lot of fluff
No.
or flowery, flowing.
We really don't want you to tell a story. We really don't want a beautiful narrative. Honestly, you can sit there and put the answer or the questions in bold, and now I'm answering that question, and that's fine with us. We just want it to be really clear that what you are giving us is proof that you know why you taught what you taught.
Okay.
And that you can look at the student work and say, okay, based on this, I know what to teach next. That's what we're looking for, is do you know why you're teaching what you're teaching?
Okay.
And anything else that happens in there, yes, some fluff and some examples of how you're building relationships. These are important because it is part of teaching. But always come back to what was the purpose of this task. This task was asking you to demonstrate how you differentiate for students. Stick to differentiation. There will be other places that you can talk about why your classroom is set up the way it is, and how you handle parents and how you handle paperwork. But stick to the task that it's asking for.
So do y'all use the same rubric that's shared with the teacher initially when you score?
We do.
Pretty much?
We use that rubric, but we're also taught to score holistically.
Okay.
And to score supportively.
Okay.
So we're assuming that you do know what you're doing when you come in.
Uh-huh.
But we are looking for you to explain why you gave us the evidence that you did. Why'd you bring these student samples? Why'd you want to film this particular lesson? But on the whole, does your classroom run smoothly? On the whole, did you understand why this student needed that step? Then we're going to work with you, and we're going to not sit there and go, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong. The rubric is there as a guide for us. On the whole, are you meeting most of those things? Then we're happy.
Okay. Is there one task that they struggle with more than another?
I would say the one where I had the most, had to give the most feedback and possibly the fewest passing scores would be the task that involves the video.
Okay.
And it's not that the videos weren't good, because we're not scoring you on your video content or the quality of it. As long as we can hear what you're saying, and generally, if you can tell us what the kids are saying, if we can't hear it, that's not what you're being scored on. It's when you look at that video, can you explain what was happening and why you made certain choices? Okay, you're not moving around the room. Can you tell me why you're not moving around the room?
I see.
Because this kid needs me to stand right here, or
Right.
he's going to start bouncing. Tell us that. We don't know. And it is okay to talk about. In fact, it's really good to talk about the mistakes that you see of yourself in your video.
Okay.
Your video doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, we'd rather it wasn't perfect.
Good. That's good.
It gives you more to talk about. Say, oh, as I'm reviewing my teaching, I'm seeing that there are certain students that are raising their hands and I'm not calling on them, and I didn't notice that before, but now I know and can make a conscious effort. That tells me that you are a reflective practitioner.
Yeah.
You're aware of what's happening and you can constructively criticize yourself and make those changes. It's actually very hard for someone who creates this picture perfect video
Right.
to be able to then respond to all the prompts, because the prompts are asking you for what you will do differently next time. Well, if you had a perfect video, then you've got nothing to say.
Right. That's good, Leanne. I think that's very helpful.
So yeah, when you film those classes and that class that kid decides to pick up the chair and throw it across the room, that doesn't mean the video's terrible. Just tell us what you would do about it. Respond. Show us what you're thinking about your teaching.
Yeah. I think for me, it was like helpful when I did my national board videos. I'd use more than one group so I could have options.
Yes.
And that seems like it would also apply here, maybe if they're able to do more than one video. And then I was able to watch and say, oh, this has the most that I can write about. Or, to have that choice. I don't know. That was helpful for me.
It also helps to film the same class a few times so that your students get comfortable with it. Anytime an adult walks in the room, the kids, their heads swivel.
Right.
What's going on?
They do.
You put up a camera in the room and that's going to really change things. Film a few times, let the kids see it, depending on age appropriate and who you're working with. But let them watch and let them have their own critique moment, and then film again. And it's going to change and give you, again, those options. You might decide the first video is the one that you have the most to say about. But sometimes letting the kids get that practice helps.
That's a good tip as well. This has been very helpful. Thank you so much for your time and for being with us here on the BTN Network.
Thanks.